going live. Hello,
Going
Michael.
live.
Sir Michael. I don't know. Like, okay, we're this is a semi-impromptu hangout about anything, so we don't have any topics, and it's just like you were like
Topics for cucks and regressives.
Yeah, you were like we should have a catch up, and then you said I should interview you about something.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Like it was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, hey, we should have a hangout, and then you were like, yeah, and then I was like, I'll get back to you on what that is, and then you got back to, or I got back to you like today, which is like 2 weeks later.
You're worse than me.
Here we are.
With my sister, she's always like, let's hang out. And I'm like, okay. Nah, she's pretty shit too, because then she doesn't reply to me either. So
it's like me and my mum. My mum's always like, hey, Michael, we should, you know, talk because you're not in the country for ages. And I'm like, yeah, let's like, totally talk.
A month later, you're like, so a month ago, you said we should hang out. You're like, what? You liar. And then you fight.
It's not because I don't care. It's just because I'm super busy or something.
So, Michael,
I am.
What have you been up to? This is a deep dive into the mind of Michael Rowlands. I think it's funny, like, before we even started, some dude is like saying, you're talking to that fucking moron, Michael Rowlands.
What's Mike is that how you spell scared? Really, with 2 R's? Scared? Scared?
What?
With other people's opinions.
Yeah. Like, I just have to start a hangout with Michael Rowlands, and there's already people in the comments who are like, oh, so fucking moron, stupid Michael. Fuckhead.
Oh my god, it's so stupid.
That can be my first question. Why do you inspire such hate? Although I don't think you've reached Steve Shive's levels, so you've got to work on that.
No. I mean, the last little while, I haven't really had a chance to inspire as much hate as Steve. But see the difference between me and Steve. Okay, so here's the difference between me and Steve. So Steve doesn't, you know, he doesn't purposely provoke people to hate him, right? But I do. Like, I purposefully go after people.
I think Steve just doesn't care. Like when he said, "Why befriend anti-feminists and anti-SJWs? I'd befriend someone who deletes all of their channels." I was like, that is way harsher than I would ever say. But I also think Steve doesn't care about trying to appeal to them. So like when they're all like, "Look at this horrible, terrible thing Steve said," I think he just doesn't care about what they think about it, you know. And I guess I kind of care about how some of the stuff I say is perceived, and I think Steve has run out of fucks. Like, he's just like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I want to delete all your channels, and they're like, Steve is horrible, and Steve's like, well, he's also like blocked almost everyone, so he's just like, whatever. Like, I'm not even going to hear about your complaining about what I said anyway. So why do I give a shit?
I mean, he's blocked a lot of people, but again, there's still, you know, there's just so many people. I mean, I block a lot of people as well, and I don't see, you know. I still get just as many people coming to me, but like, oh, Michael, blah, 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 blah. You know, you know, I'm not saying I have.
Like, that's the way you translate all of their comments. Automatically.
What's that?
All of their comments to you are automatically translated into just Michael, and like when you read it, I guess that's how you read it in your head. It's like
that's how my comments. That's how my comments to Shu are perceived, because she's blocked me. # blocked by Shu.
What? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Shu said that you know, you were always too unfair. Like, you were always given a shit all the time about everything.
Nah, I was giving everyone shit all the time. I feel like she took it way too personally.
But do you ever feel like you should be nicer to people? Like, I mean, people you disagree with. I know, like, that's hard to say you should do, because I mean, from your perspective, they are like putting forth toxic ideas and negative ideas and things that you don't like. But do you think in terms of, like, I don't know, like PR or trying to appeal to people or develop more of a following or something, that you should be nicer, or do you think you should just go and like be harsh all the time?
I mean, I wouldn't like forgo my own personal standards just to appeal to people.
Right.
Or
but people are like, oh, you know, that's oh, Michael and you know, some other social justice people, all they ever do is just be negative, and they just complain about everything I do. No matter what I do, it's never good enough. You know, I've seen people say stuff like that.
Like, for example, for example, me and Chrisiosity, right? Me and Chrisiosity are really good friends, really, really good friends. But she's called me out on stuff before. You know, she's called me out on, you know, saying certain stuff and whatever. But I take it in the sense of, you know, she, you know, it's not. This is the thing. I made a video about this ages ago about, you know, it's not. It's the difference between saying, "Oh my God, you're such an awful person. You're bigoted to the core. You're a rotten apple. You're this, all that sort of shit." It's the difference between that and the difference between saying, "Hey man, the thing that you just said, maybe it's not the best thing. It could be harmful to other people, especially." And see, this is the other thing. If you have a large audience like Shu does, like you know, I'm a skeptic, like Sargon or whatever. You know, when you're saying that stuff, an audience of people who potentially already believe that stuff, and so you are perpetuating marginalization of groups of people.
Right, but I mean, you know, like Sargon, for example. I mean, I don't like the guy at all. Obviously, we don't get along. He kind of hates me because, like, when he made a video to me, it was just like laden with insults. Like, absolutely.
I watched that video again. Like, I watched the one, you know, because he made that video about you, and then I made the other one about responding to his. Oh, what backwater fucking country is New Zealand? I watched that again, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
But I mean, I don't like hate him or anything. I think maybe I've vacillated back and forth between thinking I hate him and then just being like, you know what, like, what's the point in hating people? But from his perspective, like, no matter how you feel about how much of a piece of shit he is, he thinks that, you know, it's like an anti-Sargon cult whose entire point is to just attack him over everything. And I could see, like, even in the video he made to me, even though it was laden with insults or whatever, he was very kind of bitter and angry because I think he feels put upon, you know, no matter how much of a shit he is, he does feel like I will get attacked no matter what I say, you know.
I find that really interesting though, because and kind of like ridiculous, because I feel like that's the same sort of situation he puts a lot of other people in, like for example, Anita Sarkeesian, right? You know, nothing she says is gonna be okay. And I mean, Sargon's in that same position, and he expects something different of her, but when it happens to him, it's the worst thing ever. You know, it seems kind of odd to me that he would have such a high standard for someone like Anita Sarkeesian or whoever else, but then when he receives a certain amount of criticism, he also cries fucking, you know, all the time. It's like,
but I think people come from like completely different spaces in terms of what they think is going to be like a good comment. Like, for example, like Sam Harris, he tweeted out recently, you know, all identity politics is bad, but the worst identity politics of all is white supremacy. And a ton of people got on his case because they were like, you're still conflating like the people protesting the white supremacy with the white supremacists, and you know that comment is not good enough and all that. But I think from Sam Harris's perception, he would have thought, I'm calling out white supremacy, this is a really good comment. So when he sees all of the like pushback, he's probably thinking, nothing I do is ever good enough for these people. They always think that I'm bad, you know. And I think a lot of the antis feel that way. Like Chris Reagan probably feels like, no matter what I say, like if I try to say something against white supremacists, it's never enough. They always hate me, you know.
It depends on the platform as well. Like, you know, I imagine if I sat down with Shu, or if I sat down with Chris or any of those guys and actually had a one-on-one conversation, you know, it would be different. But when it's happening over Twitter, or when it's, you know, because I do this thing on Twitter, you know, whenever I'm on Twitter and I see something I find deplorable or stupid or whatever, I just retweet it as a thing, you know, and to my followers saying, look how fucking stupid this is. Look how ridiculous this thing is. And so I kind of ham it up a little bit. I still,
like, you know, if someone says something transphobic, from your perception, like you think it's transphobic, and it probably is, I don't know. And then you say, oh, look at this transphobe, like this person's being transphobic again, typical Sargon or something. I think, they get like, I mean, I don't want to put it negatively, but they get like real offended by that, and they're all like, "Oh, how dare you!"
I talked about that in my video as well. It's that, again, I go back to what I said. It's the difference between saying you are a transphobe, you're a bigot to the core, and the thing that you're saying right now is oh my god, hashtag problematic. You know, that's kind of what.
I mean, I do think like we or like, you know, some of us in this realm do say that about Sargon. We say like he's a bigot to the core, or he's a misogynist, sexist, whatever.
He continually shows himself to be a piece of shit. That's the
yeah,
problem.
I mean, I know that the stuff he says is like that. Like Shu just said in the comments, like, our ideology is anti-Sargon, and to me that is fucking nonsense, at least from my perspective, because I'm not anti-Sargon. I'm anti the constant stupid ignorant shit that he says all the time. The fact that he can't fucking read articles, that he does like all of this ridiculous trolly shit and then never takes responsibility for it, and he's just been generally very unpleasant to me, and I just think he's just like a total douchebag, and that's got absolutely nothing to do with being anti-Sargon as an ideology. Like, if I was anti-Sargon, then wouldn't I be anti like other people who have similar points of view? Like, I would be anti Chris Reagan and anti Seanhead and anti Armored Skeptic, but I don't have as many issues with those people because they don't act as shitty. I mean, that's just how it is. It's nothing to do with like ideologically anti-Sargon. That's totally meaningless. Like, I just think he's a dick. You know?
So yeah, no, but like, okay, so Shu just said that's a joke, but a lot of people
oh, right. There's always an excuse. Like, no matter what he does, it's always an excuse.
No. She said that's a joke, as in the thing that she said was a joke. What I'm saying is you know, a lot of
which
people.
Thing? Oh, sorry, I got a bit lost.
No, but a lot of people say to me.
Wait, what thing did she say? Just before you.
Okay, we're very focused on Shu at this point, but she said you guys are anti-Sargon as an ideology, and then she said
that was a joke. Okay, well then I just discount everything I just said.
No, but still, seriously. People often, all the time, you know, they're like, "Oh my God, you focus on Sargon so much. You're obsessed with Sargon. Blah 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 blah. You're obsessed." You know, it's not that I'm obsessed with Sargon. It's just that my focus at this point. Yeah, I have a lot of anti-Sargon stuff on my channel. I have a lot of anti-Bearing stuff on my channel. I have a lot of anti-whoever on my channel. You know, Kraut and Tea on my channel. That's, I mean, kind of how my channel started out, I suppose.
But is it? I guess the question is it anti that person, or is it anti some ideological idea of that person?
I mean, it's just once you get into going against one person's thing, it's difficult. You kind of get sucked down a rabbit hole of the stupidity because there's so much of it in a place there, and you see it all the time, and you know, and it's easy. Like for me specifically, I you know, when stuff pops up on my Twitter feed or on my my YouTube feed or whatever, you know, it's. See it instantly and you're like, oh my God, and then you make a video about it. For me, I can make a video within a day about how stupid something that Sargon has said, and that's easy to do. And it's not because I'm trying to, you know, pump out content as fast as I can, but it's kind of me just kind of going, ugh, about
right, yeah. I don't know, I find it tricky because I feel a lot of the time people are receptive to criticism, but only if it's couched in like kind of safe terms. And then if you kind of couch things in a harsher fashion, people get like super defensive. And I think like that is kind of something that's going on with the whole like social justice warrior versus anti thing is a lot of the time the antis seem very defensive, and it could be a mixture between like them not wanting to reflect on their own point of view, and at the same time, like social justice people couching things in ways that after time come off as too negative, because after a certain amount of time, you just kind of like zone shit out. And you're like, I don't care anymore, you know? And then
I feel like it's a misunderstanding to some degree of the I mean, again, I go back to this video that I made. I feel like
and that's why Nazis exist too, because of us. Anyways, go on.
I feel like it's a misunderstanding of hold on one second. A misunderstanding of terms and a misunderstanding of what terms mean. I mean, like, you know, again, like I say, I go back to the video that I made. You know, people seem to think that when you say racist or sexist or whatever, or bigot or whatever, it's this like, you know, racist is a person who outwardly hates black people. They you know, whenever they walk along the street, they cross the street when a black person comes and they cringe and they you know, or they join the KKK and they want to lynch. But you know, it's the most extreme versions of that particular thing. But it's not. There's much more subtle, complex, nuanced understandings of what these words mean, that can be applied, and so when you say, oh, that thing you said was racist, or is slightly, that's the thing, is when you say racist, there's so many different shades of what they, oh, surprise, surprise, things aren't binary. There's a spectrum, there's a spectrum of what racism can be, and when you say to someone, oh, that's racist, they automatically, especially the anti-SJWs or whatever, they already assume the most negative thing that is possibly can be. And I hear this all the time, like there was a guy the other day that was saying, I linked something about the guy who drove his car into the protesters at the white supremacist rally, sorry, and someone retweeted it and said, oh, he must have been one of the real bigots. And I was like, what? Are you fucking kidding me?
So real bigotry is literally killing people. Like, before that, bigotry can't exist.
Yeah, apparently.
That's what I want to say. Like, the bar is so high on bigotry, you literally have to kill someone.
but see, that's the thing. It's like, it's not saying that you are the worst person in the world and you're a piece of shit. What it's saying is that maybe the thing that you have said is it's not necessarily marginalizing a group of people, but it's again, it's this word problematic. It's a problematic language that can lead to the marginalization of a group of people, or to a certain group of, small group of people. It doesn't matter how many groups. It could be one person, it could be oppressive to one specific person.
Oh, I mean, even like Trump, for example, was like, there was a lot of good people at the Charlottesville rally on both sides. And it's like, you look at the side, which is like the Nazi side, and they're all running around screaming about hating Jews, holding fucking tiki torches. Like, where are the good people on that quote unquote side? Like, even
there were lots of good people there.
There weren't Nazis are like, you can't even see them as Nazis. It's just like, hey, some of them are good people.
Not everybody there was there being a bad person. There were people trying to protest.
Some people just love history and they love statues. That's all. It's so fucking stupid.
Just so you know, we've got. Oh no, I thought there was 9. I was looking at the thumbs up and the thumbs down, and it looked like it was 4 versus 9 thumbs down, and I was like, oh man, I'm bad publicity.
And they're all for you. How many subs am I gonna fucking lose because of you, Michael?
The worst.
But no, like, this kind of ties in somewhat to the shit was going on with me this week when the ACLU had that like picture of a little kid with an American flag, and in small letters on the shirt it said free speech, and they said, this is the future we want. So then I tweeted out, oh, an Aryan child holding a flag or whatever. And I agreed. It was really like, it was hyperbolic and over the top, but I was kind of surprised by the reaction, because like, so many people injected stuff into what I said that had absolutely nothing to do with what I said at all. Like, I got called a Marxist. I said, I want to punch the child, which I didn't understand. Like, why would I want to punch a kid? They said, you're calling that kid, you called a child a racist? And I was like, what? Why would the kid be a racist? They said, you said the ACLU is a white supremacist organization, which is not what I was saying. I was saying, like, the tweet itself reminded me of, like, old Nazi propaganda posters where they had like Aryan children, and it would say like, this is our future. Yeah. And the phrase like the future is in the 14 words, like, we must secure an existence for the freedom of the white race or the white children or whatever. And so it reminded me of it. And they also said, if you see something in racial terms which was not tweeted out or not put out in a racialized setting, but it just reminded you of something racial, that means you're the true racist and you're a bigot. And I also got told I hate being white. Have I already said I hate white? They said I hate white children. Like, a lot of it was very weird, because what I was actually saying was that tweet reminded me of that kind of propaganda, which is true, because it still did. Like, when I saw it, does that mean that I saw something that was not necessarily racial through a racialized lens? Yes, but I think that is related to all of the fucking racial shit that's going on in society. It wasn't because I was like, oh my God, I hate white kids, and I think the ACLU is a white supremacist organization, and I'm a Marxist. Like, it was really weird. Like, and then I was like, it did make me see how blown out of proportion and out of shape a lot of this is. Like, people have kind of a knee-jerk reaction. like I had a knee-jerk reaction, but then they had a knee-jerk reaction to my knee-jerk reaction that just seemed ridiculous to me. Like, you are taking it to the next level of knee-jerk, and now it's just a massive circle of knee-jerkery, which is getting out of control.
It's just a big knee-jerkle circle.
Yeah, it was.
Knee circle jerk. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think everyone is everyone's on edge. Like, they're really on edge, and certain things you say can set off like a powder keg reaction. You know, if people going way out, like way over the top. You know, it's like, all right, look, what I said was over the top and could have been better, but the reaction is getting absolutely ridiculous now. And I just feel like people need to chill, you know?
People need to chill.
Oh, God, Michael. Lost me 3 subscribers by that joke.
So you know, what was that? What's the name of that thing? It's evolutionary determinism, deterministic.
Huh?
Biological determinism.
Oh yeah, yeah. You were like, what is that thing called? And then, because I'm very smart.
What's the racial?
We're looking for biological determinism. Is the phrase you want?
What's the racial version of that?
Of what? Biological determinism.
Yeah, there's like a race realism.
Race realism. Race determinism.
I was going to make a video today or in the next little while about why I think the biological determinism is, and I'm going to try and flesh it out now for you, because I feel like if you assert to a certain level, if you assert that you know, people are doing things because of their biology, right? Then you are asserting that there is a, you know, because there has to be some sort of social, you know, influence. If you're asserting that there is only a biological influence, then that's fucking stupid. You're saying that there's no social influence, then that's ridiculous. But to any degree, you're asserting that you know what the most optimal ratio of biological to social influence that there is, right? So, like, for example, when someone says, "Oh, hey, you know, women women are less likely to go into," this is to choose a not completely relevant topic at all. Women are less likely to go into STEM fields or computer sciences or all that sort of thing because they are biologically more likely to do more kind of looking at faces and talking. And
are we talking about the Google guy now? The Google memo?
No, not at all. That's not at all what I'm talking about.
Sorry.
I just, you know, when you say that you know, that is the way that things are, right? Okay, so the way that things are now, and women are likely to be this way, and men are likely to be this way because of their biology. You
I keep sounding like you're going to say biology.
Just FYI, P-Dog9, yes, I have read the Google memo. That was a joke.
Yeah, I remember that. You said, like, I can't read that shit, and everyone went crazy.
Everyone thinks I haven't read it. I have read it, you stupid idiot. That's a joke. Anyway, biology. So when you were asserting that you have that is the way that then you are by in turn asserting that you know the rate that, like, the perfect ratio of biology to social pressures that lead you know, men and women to be a certain way. So and that seems ridiculous to me, to say that, okay, men and women are this way because, you know, biology is this way. Well, how do you know that that is the perfect ratio of biology to social and probably other factors as well? How do you know that that's why I said in the video that I was talking about, I was like, you know, things are the way they are because that's the way they are, and that's the best way they can be. That's ridiculous. That we are at a certain place right now where things are the way they are, okay, but that doesn't mean that that is the best way that they can be.
Yeah, but I mean, if I played devil's advocate, and I guess, like, related to the Google guy, in his memo, wasn't he kind of saying, like, there's a certain, like, way that society is laid out, and there is a biological underpinning for why it is that way. That's kind of like what he was saying there. So not necessarily like 1-to-1, you know, biological equals societal, but that the biological in the James Damore guy's view is that has influenced why society is laid out the way it is. I mean, what do you think of that? If it was less 1-to-1,
for one, the James James Damore experiment was fucking stupid. It was never like the results were never replicated. His methodology was completely flawed.
Well,
so,
I'm not arguing that it was like a good memo by any stretch. Just
but
even
if you say like,
say, you know.
Yeah, no, but what I'm trying to say is that so you're looking at the state of the way things are. You're saying, okay, there's an imbalance between the genders, right? There's less women in let's just say computer science. There's less women in computer science, and there's more men in computer science. And it seems, first of all, when you look at that and you say, oh, well, it's probably because of their biology, blah, 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 you know, you're starting with a conclusion and trying to find something to fill. That's not how science works. You should start with.
What do you think of the idea, though, that it creates like a trend or a tendency rather than something that's just absolute one-to-one, you know?
But again, that's ignoring the social aspects of the whole thing. Like what I'm saying is that we've gotten to a certain place, right, where there's an imbalance, and social aspect is definitely something that we can change. The biology isn't something that we can change. Okay, that's fine. We get that. The biology isn't something we can change, but the social aspect is definitely something that we can change. And to ignore that is ridiculous. And to say that, okay, we're at this place now, okay, biology has influenced us to get to this place, or we can't change it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can change the social aspect of the thing. But so many people demonize the social aspect. Oh, social sciences, you know, that's the thing. You can't, but we can change that stuff. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. You're saying that we are at this place, the biology has influenced to be us that place, there's nothing we can do about it. No, yes, there is, we can. So we can change the social aspect of that thing. And to say that the biology is at that place, we can't, you are asserting that you know what the perfect ratio of biology to sociology is, and that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, the main problem with the memo was his ridiculous conclusions, because I often find that you can be saying something or looking at some data which maybe, like, I think it was poorly sourced from what I can tell, and the scientist who actually who studied that he cited said that's not what I was saying. But you know, you can theoretically look at some solid data and be like, I'm looking at some data which has interesting implications and is some solid data and could be saying this, could be saying that, and then finishing up with a ridiculous fucking stupid analysis that women like people, men like things. And I was like, that's so reductionist and
I feel like
absurd.
I feel like the problem as well is looking at the state of things, how they are now, and then trying to find a reason why. That's not how science works. You don't find a conclusion and then find stuff to back that up.
I mean, there was a massive study that completely debunked that point, because they studied like millions of examples of code, like coding, that were done by men and women. And they found that if you knew that the coding was done by a woman, people were less likely to select that as an example of good code. But if you didn't know whether a man or a woman coded it, the women's code was picked at a higher rate as good code than the men's. So it was like women in a blind study where you don't know who did it were shown to have more preferable coding, you know? So it was complete, and there was I can't remember what year, 2013 or something, completely debunked his bullshit idea that, you know, even if women do like people more, or if women are like people, that sounded weird, that doesn't mean that they're bad at stuff that doesn't involve people as well for no reason. Like, oh, because they like people more, they can't be good at coding and using brain. Like that's absurd. They're not mutually exclusive. Like, they could be good with people and good at coding and good at thinking. Like, it's so stupid.
I mean, I also feel like the idea that, I don't know, it just seems like a, okay, so the state of affairs, for example, if we are now looking at the state of affairs now, that women are less represented in computer science or whatever, that is the way things are. If what your goal is
now I got people saying that was not his argument in the memo. Yes, it was. He looked at all this data, and then he said, you know, women like people, men like objects, things. And it's like, so fucking what? That's got absolutely nothing to do with whether they can function well at Google. So your entire memo is a waste of time. Anyways, go on, Michael.
If you're looking at the state of how things are now, and you're saying, okay, women are misrepresented in computer science, and you're going, I can't remember what my point was. I think my point was that, like, if you're looking at that and going, that's the way things are, and then you're trying to come up with reasons why that is to justify that. Yeah, you know, I feel like you're coming at it from the wrong angle. I mean, that feels like a really anti.
The difference between just looking at data and like having a solid study on hand, whether or not that was the case in the Google memo, is completely different than coming to like a sane, reasonable, nuanced, you know, possibility-laden conclusion. And instead coming to some fucking biased garbage that you just want it to be saying, you know? And I feel like that was the problem with the memo. Like, his conclusion was just garbage, but, you know, I don't even know if his data was that good either, so.
There were a couple of things that I found kind of funny. One of them was the fact that he has equated Google to gulags, which is like,
oh, that's just like stupid. Like, there is a real victim mentality amongst people who always complain about people being victims. It's so stupid.
It's like that video, right? It's like that video that Sargon put out about him trying to equate the Jew
so funny
to people making anti-Semitic jokes.
But Michael, if you say that's stupid, possible. You are part of an anti-Sargon cult. You can't say that's stupid.
Oh my god! And the other thing was like him changing his Twitter handle to "Fired for Truth."
Yeah. God.
Yeah. And then someone commented on my thing about that, and they were like, "Yeah, fired for truth." So if you went up to your boss and said to them, "You're a fat piece of shit," you know, okay, so technically maybe you're telling the truth. I told the truth. Fired for truth. You know, and then someone else commented, #subscribe to my Patreon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I find that, like, when people, like, if I say something and then people say, "You're the real racist, you hate white people, you're a bigot," and stuff. So many of the people who say that are the ones who always complain about people unfairly being labeled racist. And that makes me think that they are bitter about the fact that other people call people racist and they don't get to, and they want to. Like, they are just chomping at the bit to call people racist, and it's not fair. I was called racist and I want to. Oh, I found something that seems anti-white. You're the real racist. And it's like, well, you were just waiting to call someone racist. That's the issue.
How about instead of getting triggered about the fact that someone's called you racist, or said that the thing that you said was racist is racist, and crying about that, how about you examine the things that you're saying and your ideas and your beliefs and do some introspection and some self-reflection? And
no, or you could just call people who call you racist because you want to get revenge.
That'll solve society's problems.
Yeah,
that'll solve all problems.
Well, that's the thing. Like, calling someone racist is not like a solution in itself, and being called racist, you know, people take that very wrong as like some kind of slander. But I think it would be useful if people reconsidered what calling someone racist or being called racist means as a chance to like examine your thoughts and views. But I think people are too proud, and it's never going to happen. So
I don't think like
when someone says to me, "Tim, you're racist," I'm like, well, explain that. Explain why I'm racist. And they're like, I don't have a reason. I just wanted to call you racist because I'm angry at you. I'm like, well, okay, great.
Okay, like for example, I don't know if I call anyone, like, I don't call. I mean, I can't think of an example when I have. If I have, it's been because it's been a very, very long, arduous time, and they've shown me so many reasons why I think they're racist. For example, like David Duke. I would call David Duke a racist, and he would probably agree with me.
How could you?
But you know, generally I say that the things that people have said are racist, you know, so it's something that you have said is a racist thing, you know, so there's kind of a difference there, you know.
The people who hate safe spaces generally want you to phrase things in very nice ways. Like, they don't want you to say you're a racist. They want to say, like, "Oh, I'm not sure if I agree."
Like, oh, you know,
I don't know if that's right.
But then they're not nuanced about
the phrasing. Wasn't
they're
that
not nuanced on. But then they're not nuanced about the ideas of safe spaces or problematic or anything like that. They they want us to be nuanced, but they don't want to be nuanced themselves.
Yeah, like guys. So we all have like controversial views on the Jews, but we don't want anyone in this space calling anybody racist, okay? Because it just doesn't make us feel good. Like, okay, I don't want to get hashtag.
Did you watch the Vox documentary?
No, I heard about it. No.
Vice one. The Vice one.
Nah.
Oh my God.
I heard about it.
It was terrible. Because there's because there was the main guy, the Chris Caldwell guy or whatever, is the guy who's been
Cantwell, right?
Whatever his name is.
Caldwell sounds
him.
Cool.
Caldwell, but I'm going to call him that.
Yeah,
Chris
the crying
Caldwell.
Nazi. Yeah.
The crying Nazi, exactly. Chris the crying Nazi. And so there's him being interviewed a lot, and there's this bit. So he got like maced a couple of times at the rally, which is interesting because he complained about that a lot. But then he maced a bunch of other people as well, which didn't come up. So he got maced.
As I say, not as I do. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he's allowed to mace people, but people can't mace him. Anyway, so there's this bit where he's like walking down the street, like away from the place where he's got no shirt on and he's like walking away and he's like, kind of doing that.
No, I saw that separately. I didn't see it in the documentary, but I saw that clip of he's
that was on a video that I made. I made a video.
He was edgelording out, He was sort of like, we'll kill our enemies. We are the tough Aryan Superman.
We'll fucking kill them if we have to, that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so
moron.
Someone just said baked Alaska maced himself.
Maybe he did.
So did you see that? But
did you see when after he got maced and he was like, "What are my people saying? Are you still streaming? Are you still streaming?" And they're like, "Yes, Alaska, we're still streaming. I want people to see this because I'm an attention mugger."
Like, oh my God, he's such an idiot. Anyway, so Chris is walking down the street, edgelording out, and then this other guy who's like a Daily Stormer article writer or whatever comes up from behind him, and Chris is edgelording out, and then the Daily Stormer guy comes up and he's like, and that's because this town is run by Jews and corrupt N-word people, and they're all going to try and he just like Nazi'd out to the max. It was like ridiculous.
Nazi'd out.
He just Nazi'd. He followed. I have no problem calling that guy a Nazi because he totally is. He works for the Daily Stormer, and the things that he was saying, he was like, we're going to have a white ethno-state, and we're going to get rid of all the deplorable people who aren't white, and we're going to have white people in America, and we're going to get rid of all the deplorables. And I was like, holy Jesus Christ, this guy
so it's basically, that's what the social justice warriors want, except with white people, and we want it with minorities or something. I don't know. Something like that.
We want it with everyone. We want an ethno-state of everyone.
Oh my Jesus.
Right?
Wow,
we want an ethno state. Ethno state.
You're the real bigot. All right, sorry. I'm gonna cut you off.
I mean, both sides. There's intolerance on both sides. There's the intolerance of the people not wanting people, and there's the intolerance of people wanting people.
There's people being Nazis, and then there's people saying Nazis are Nazis, and they're exactly the same.
And then there's those Nazis who are Nazis only because people called them Nazis.
Did you see that meme? Like, there was really good, or I don't know if it was a meme, like a comic or whatever, and it was like, I want an ethno state. I hate the Jews. Like, the stupid blacks, all this kind of shit. And then it was another person being like, wow, you're a total racist Nazi, and what you're saying is like disgusting, and I think you're a piece of shit, and I don't like you. And then there's some guy, and he walks in, and he's like, they're exactly the same. Like I'm seeing double. Here.
Speaking of memes, have you seen the what's it, the boyfriend, the one with the boyfriend and the girlfriend, and he's like checking out some of the girl?
Oh yeah, I actually did. I found that like kind of irritating.
No, okay, so there was that one, but then there was another one. There was another one that came up that was like the conclusion to that. So there's him like, looking at some other chick or whatever, which was hilarious. But then there was another one where like he looks at the chick, and then the second one is him with the other chick and the other, like his girlfriend, they're meeting in town, and the guy is like, "Oh, hi, it's good to see you." He's like awkward because he's with the other chick, right? And then the third one is the two chicks having coffee, and the guy's off in the corner, like looking at them, being like, "Oh." And then it's the fourth one is the two chicks kissing, and it's also like, "Yay, the girls win," and the guy got fucking because he was a dickhead.
Oh, I didn't really get it, but it sounds funny. Maybe someone.
Yeah, it's hard to explain memes in words.
Maybe some of the viewers found that interesting, and they will go look up the meme and be like,
I'll link the meme in the description. Hashtag memes don't work in speaking.
Oh no, but someone in the chat was like, "Well, that meme, the one that I talked about is comparing the best of one side with the worst of another side," and I think that's true. But I think it's also like, you know, people on the quote-unquote other side have a perception that people are always calling people racist all the time. I think on this quote-unquote side, there is a perception that people are constantly trying to conflate rabid anti-Semitic white supremacist Nazis with just people who are like trying to actually fight those people, you know? And I think that's like just kind of a perception gap.
Oh yes, the old left is so much a thing. Those people who want
but I think they would say compare it to Antifa, compare it to like somebody punching someone on the street, or compare it to whatever.
There was a really good video by sorry, I'm eating M&Ms at the moment, so I got a mouthful of M&Ms, but
disgusting.
Peter Coffin did a really good video about the Antifa thing, and why it's not comparable. The whole both sides thing, because like you just said, I mean, it's pretty obvious. On one side, you've got Nazis, people who want to genocide people, people who want an ethno-state, people who want to rid the world or rid an area of whatever of everyone but white people, whatever the fuck that means. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but that's, you know, of the deplorable people. You look at all the dudes who are like the alpha, you know, master race, and it's like Steve Bannon and like some hairy guy from the back, you know.
Some of the pictures are so funny of like alt-right people getting together, and they all just look like a bunch of schlubs. Like,
exactly.
You know, they look like they've been hanging out on their couch playing video games for the past 3 years, and they're like, master race.
The point is, you've got one side of people who is intolerant, hateful, racist, you know, they you know, xenophobic, all that sort of shit, and then you've got another side of people who are against that stuff. You know, Antifa is literally anti-fascism, anti-Nazis, that shit.
But you know, like the counterpoint to that would be that Antifa incorrectly label people who are not Nazis or white supremacists as such, and then attack them. I think, which is true in some cases. Yeah. Like that girl wearing like a Trump hat got maced, and I think that's wrong.
Yeah, but I feel like the small amounts of like singular violence that happens in the hey, American anarchist, yeah. I feel like the from the right, you get all this violence from Antifa. You know, oh, there's so much violence. They're a terrorist group. Ma. You know, okay, trying to in the name. I feel like if you take it to
like they overreact. Sometimes I think, and people, I don't know if they're innocent or not, but like people who shouldn't really be attacked do get attacked sometimes. I guess that's it.
You know, I get that. I mean, I'm generally anti-violence.
Yeah, me too.
To as well, you know, but you know, I feel like if you compare the violence, if you compare the ideologies,
yeah, ideologically, there's no comparison. I think I agree there.
No, exactly.
There's just no comparison ideologically between Antifa and
exactly
white supremacists. But there is like a like logistically that their tactics and some of the stuff they do is kind of productive, and people get caught up in it.
But both of them aren't like neither of them are, you know, what's the word? You know, coordinated groups. You know, if we had like an
no, the alt-right's a lot more. Well, I don't want to get into that. It's too complicated. But go on.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? That neither of them are like, so you can't say, oh, Antifa are bad, because, okay, some Antifa people may be taking the wrong steps to try and combat fascism, but
well, you would say like
can't say
chunks of Antifa, or like certain people in Antifa are just going about it in a kind of stupid way,
sure,
I guess.
sure, I would say that, and you know, I would, you know, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, look at this thing that this Antifa guy did," you know, okay, that's bad, but when you look at it in the scope of the whole ideology,
well, I would say like if an Antifa guy drove a car into a thing, like drove a car into a crowd, a lot of people would say, "See, we told you so." But I would just say like, I think at the other people who, you know, march under the Antifa banner should fully and totally condemn that, and I would expect to see like massive condemnations by
I just feel like
lots of people,
so
and
much
I
more
hope
condemnation.
that, you know?
I feel like there's way too much condemnation from people. Like, okay, so again, I go back to Sargon, who is just like vehemently against Antifa. She's like, the Antifa are, you know, and the same with Black Lives Matter. You know, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, they're a terrorist organization. The whole lot of them, they're just
That's
all
ridiculous. Yeah,
and that's ridiculous. It's
right.
absolutely. How can you say that? How can you honestly say that anti-fascism? That's where these memes of like,
Well,
oh, you know, look,
he can't do nuance. He can't.
anti-fascism. Yeah. Well, you know, but so many people get onto that same bandwagon, right? It's like, you know, I mean, fucking Trump's doing the same thing, man. He's conflating anti-fascists with fascists, and it's you know, it's with these memes like, you know, oh look, it's the anti-fascists, you know, or so much for the tolerant left, you know, pictures from like D-Day or whatever, with the Allies going into Nazi Germany to take out the Nazis. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, sure. And if you take it to that extreme, you know, sure, the anti-fascists are using violence. Yes, they are. But that's the only thing they can do at that point.
Well, I think it's more of an organizational issue than a ideological issue. Because ideologically, I can't see an issue with them. But in terms of like the way that they organize and some of the stuff that they do, maybe they need more organization and a clearer message, because it's very like disconnected. And
but if you take the two ideologies,
you know,
to the logical extreme, right? If you take the two ideologies to the logical extreme, there's just there's no comparable. I mean, there's someone in the comments saying peace through violence at the moment. Yeah, okay. Well, you know,
some of these reactions in the comment and the chat are like super reactionary, like, oh, so you can condemn violence, and this is why no one takes you seriously because you like Antifa or whatever. Obviously, I have issues with Antifa, and that's what we're talking about. So
it's the same with feminism. We can have issues with people who claim to be feminists as well. You know, like TERFs and squares.
Yeah.
You know, we can condemn the actions of certain people because not everybody is human. Everyone does stupid shit. Everyone does stuff that isn't right in the name of whatever.
Like, instead of being like, oh, these are like some specific issues I have with stuff that goes on with Antifa in general, and I personally, like, I'm a disgusting liberal cuck, and liberals get the bullet first, so I'm not exactly on the same page all the time with Antifa. There's a difference between saying I have some issues with them and the way they do stuff, and saying they're exactly like the Nazis and they're a terrorist group. Like, that's just
but so show me the Antifa manifesto that says that we're going to cleanse the world of all the deplorables, you know? You can't compare the two things. There's just no way you can compare the two.
Yeah, and if you say, oh, we hate the Jews and we hate the blacks and we want an ethno-state, versus we hate fascists, and sometimes because we're not very well organized, we kind of fuck up who we're doing stuff to. That's
this person in the comment is, we go out and start punching TERFs as well. No, but are TERFs trying to genocide trans people?
Well, look, I put out a tweet the other day that said, I'm just going to tweet here that I'm against punching people who are not really doing much and just like saying what they think and shit. And I will just keep referring people back to this tweet when they nag me about it, because it's just such a straw man when they keep saying everyone on the left wants to punch everyone. Like, I don't. I was never for it. So.
Yeah, but see, my thing is, you take it to the logical conclusion. If you take Nazism and white nationalism to the logical conclusion, you're getting genocide, mass murder, you know, wiping out of whole, you know, groups of people. If you take Antifa to its logical conclusion, you're just getting the opposition of that. You are getting rid of the people who are trying to oppress and murder and genocide people.
Yeah, what you're getting, if you take Antifa to its logical conclusion, you're probably getting, like, I don't know, the resistance in Spain fighting against Franco. Oh exactly. My God, disgusting.
Oh no, how dare. That's what I say. You're talking about the people on D-Day. You're talking about the Allies fighting the Nazis. Okay, yes, they have to use violence. That's because how else you can't have, you know, some reasonable discourse with Hitler.
But I'm sure, like, but you can agree with me, right, that, like, that doesn't mean that, you know, as much as I hate Richard Spencer, if he's just standing on the street and someone punches him in the head, I'm like, okay, it looks hilarious and because he's a douche, but that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. And macing someone for wearing a Trump hat, yeah, I mean, fuck that. That's wrong. So I don't know what you think about that, but I can call it out. Yeah, that's wrong. But that's not the same as saying that that Antifa are just cut and dried terrorist group, and everything about Antifa is wrong. Everything about them is bad, and they're as bad as the Nazis. Because it's just, to me, that's losing perspective. But macing a random person for wearing a Trump hat is, you don't know who they are, and you don't know, like, maybe they could be convinced to change their point of view to not support Trump or whatever. Like,
I do.
Don't mace them.
You know, I'm the same. Like I say, I'm generally a pretty non-violent person. I wouldn't do it myself. The whole Richard Spencer thing is kind of.
But would you support macing someone for wearing a Trump hat? Because I just would not. Because I think that's because you don't know enough about the person who's wearing the hat.
No. With the Trump hat thing, I don't know. I have not heard of that before. No, I probably wouldn't mace a person wearing a Trump hat.
Oh, it was just some girl who was at Berkeley or whatever. There's a video of it, and she's just like talking to some guy. It's hard to hear what she's saying, and then some guy comes up and maces her, and it's just like, she's just wearing a hat. I don't know. You know, she's like, Trump is a piece of garbage and fuck Trump and stuff. But you don't know everything about who follows Trump.
Right? That's the thing, right? I mean, there's a lot of people who have been swindled by Trump. I mean, Trump is a liar. He's a cheat. He's swindled a lot of people. So many people. I mean, I you know, now it's a little bit different. But like at the beginning, you know, people who were supporting Trump, they would just he's been able to convince people because he's a liar, you know, and you can't go around macing people because they were convinced by a liar. That's kind of stupid. You know?
Stu said a couple of things in the chat I want to respond to. She said it wasn't a Trump hat, it said make Bitcoin great again, which is true. I remember that, but they thought it was a Trump hat, so that's kind of relevant. And then
that's kind of funny. I like that.
It did, yeah, but they thought it was a Trump hat. That's the point. And also, she said the only good thing about Antifa is the anti-fascism. Fuck no, that's completely ridiculous. Like, you're saying, okay, anybody who is part of this group who dresses or is against fascism in a way that I don't like, they're all bad. And the only thing good about them is that they're against fascists. That is total bullshit, because in the Charlottesville rally, apparently they prevented a lot of violence when they were there, and they protected people, and they actually made the scene less chaotic than you expected. But there was also certain chunks of Antifa that were provocating and being arseholes. So there was both. There was like people protecting people and actually like helping the situation, and then there was people agitating and causing issues. And I think it was similar in Boston. There's like articles and stories about how Antifa protected people from fascist violence, but there's also stories about how some of them were agitating and like throwing rocks and shit. So I think it's really like, it's somewhat contextual. It's based on like what chunk of Antifa you're looking at. Just to say the only good thing about them is anti-fascism is nonsense.
Yeah, that's
it's just
way too
garbage.
Black and white. I mean, like for example, I feel like, from my perspective, I feel like if you're being, I feel like I just feel like they're and I know people are going to say this like, oh, you feel, oh, facts before feels. I just that's just a word.
You could never do coding with those feelings. All right.
I feel like that. I just say that it's in my vocabulary.
How dare you?
I feel like you know, I've actually had people say that, like, oh, you feel. You
have emotions, you fucking human scum.
Piece of shit. You're not a robot. What is wrong with you? You know, you people focus way too much on the Antifa violence and kind of ignore the Nazi stuff. It's like you're completely ignoring, and that's what I mean about the nuance of racism and xenophobia and all that stuff. All of that kind of nuance is until and that's where it comes to the head, where the person gets killed because there was one Nazi who killed the person. Okay, that is bad. Okay, we can condemn that because
a lot of people
person
are waiting for an Antifa person to kill someone so that they can all of this
there was a
shit
Nazi that killed a person. That's bad. Okay, but all the rest is fine because they're just expressing their free speech.
But we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Right. There could be in the future someone from Antifa could kill someone, and then what? It's going to all be.
But you know, so what I mean is you know, okay, there's anti-fascist violence against people who are outwardly expressing their will to cleanse the land of anyone who is not quote unquote white, whatever the fuck that means. For me, that's like, are you kidding me? You know, okay, so but and the people you'd condemn are the ones that kill. You know, okay.
Yeah, but
we condemn the Nazi.
But the counter argument or whatever. But the counter argument is that sometimes they get it wrong and attack the wrong person, I guess. That's the thing that always
but it's the same for everyone. That's like fucking Sargon of Akkad or Paul or whatever. You know, getting the Boston bombers wrong. You know, they you know, people get shit wrong all the time. It doesn't matter.
I didn't even hear about that. What happened?
No, Paul, you know, did the whole crazy, stupid conspiracy theory investigation thing on the Boston bombers and got it wrong. You know,
I didn't even hear about this.
It's the same with this. That's why I was hesitant with the "Yes, you are racist" Facebook handle. Was that the guy? Yes, you are racist, who outed a lot of Nazis during that rally.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There was a Twitter handle, a Twitter account. I think it was called "Yes, you are a Nazi" or "Yes, you are racist." That was tweeting about the rally and putting up pictures of people and trying to dox those people. I was hesitant about those. I was hesitant about retweeting them and liking them and all that sort of business because you know, I didn't want to, you know, again, it felt like the same.
I'm basically
on the other side.
I've come to be like an anti-doxing absolutist, really, because there was a video of a guy who was like holding an AK-47 that I saw yesterday, and he's all like, "This is how you shoot black women and children in the back when they're running away." Literally, that's what he was saying on Twitter. And then I was like, is this fake? So I went and searched it out and I looked it up, and no, it was legit. Like, this is a real guy who's part of like the 3%ers or something. And he was legitimately telling his followers how to kill women and children. And then I saw there was an account that showed his name, and they were like, this is his name, this is his Facebook. We're trying to find out where he lives and all this kind of stuff. And I was still against it. I was like, if you find that out, tell the authorities, tell the FBI, tell the police. Don't tell randoms. Don't tell. It doesn't matter what that person said. Tell the authorities. Don't tell randoms. Yeah. You know.
But I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't. That's the thing. It's the line between people knowing who someone is and. But I mean, because people are going to know who someone is, they're gonna obviously do something. That's the thing. Is it's the line between knowing who someone is and vigilante justice. I'm not okay with vigilante justice, but
what are you gonna do? Like, I'm gonna go find that guy, and then this heavily armed man who has all these weaponry and armor, and then I'm going to like take him down in a bloodbath. Like, don't do that. That's just dumb.
No, I dig that. It's kind of hard because I mean, you can't say, like, if you put out someone's information on the internet, you know, that is pretty much definitely going to end up in someone finding out who they are and potentially finding that person. You know, I mean, you have no control over that.
Well, someone said, like, what should I do with this information, or what should I do if I find out who he is? And someone posted a link to FBI.org, and I was like, yes, that's the exact right reaction. Tell the FBI, like, this guy wants to shoot women and children.
Yeah, so don't post it to the internet, post it to the FBI.
Yeah, tell them. That's the point, you know? That's why I think doxing's stupid, and I think, like, when Sargon doxed that Antifa professor guy with the bike lock, I got so many reactions from people who were like, he was still right. He was the guy who did it. And I was like, that's totally
my God, I was so annoyed about that. So, like, I still get...
Irrelevant. Doesn't matter that he was
video. because I made multiple videos about that. About my point wasn't about who it was or what the point was. The point was that Sargon, first of all, accepted conspiracy theory nonsense. You know, there was
he did. He thinks Poe always gets it right, and obviously, based on what you said before about the Boston bombers, they don't.
Right. Oh, look, he's wearing a black backpack, so that must mean that he's the same guy. Oh, you know, so he accepted that stupid nonsense to begin with and was like, it must be the right guy. It doesn't matter whether it was the right guy or not. That is completely irrelevant.
Yeah, it's the opposite of skepticism, right? So,
yeah.
Skepticism would be like, oh, I shouldn't take this at face value. I should think about it.
It's the same as saying, oh yeah, I believed the Bible that there was a God, and then when it comes to Judgment Day, you know, there was a God, and being like, oh, well, I told you the whole time. Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
Well, Dave Rubin, a while ago, actually it was quite a long time ago, like a year and a half ago, there was a terrorist attack, and Dave Rubin said, more Islamic violence, more Muslims killing people. And this was before anyone knew who did it. He's just like, yeah, it was Muslims. And he turned out to be right, but that wasn't the point. It wasn't the point that he was right. It was the fact that he didn't even know. He just said it was.
Yeah. Have you seen Sean and Jen's, or it's Sean now, about the video about it's like Outrage News or something like that? It was a similar thing. It was about rebel media and about when there was a terrorist attack somewhere or other. And all the people kept saying to the media and stuff was like, tell us their names, we know who they are, we want, you know, we know what it's going to be like, tell us their names. Because the reason they're saying tell us their names is, you know, we want you to say a name which is like a Middle Eastern name, because that's going to confirm our suspicions that this is actually a Muslim terrorist attack, when, you know, it's not how it works. You know.
Yeah. Anyways, I think I cut you off before while you were in the middle of telling a story. And
what was I telling? What was the story?
It was just like Sargon, blah 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 blah, Sargon, blah 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 blah.
Oh, I was just talking about that.
I think that's what
I was just talking about the anti-far thing, you know.
Yeah, and the doxing. Yeah.
The whole
there was another point
anti-far.
Anyways, I think we've done that subject. So how about we talk about what's going on in Michael world and what's going on in Michael's channel?
I mean, not a lot at the moment. Like I say, I was going to do that video about biological determinism because I think it's fucking stupid, and I think any iterations of biological determinism are fucking stupid as well. You know, basically, you know, making claims based on your own personal biases, because I feel like that's what it is. I feel like it's a you've come to a conclusion about a thing, and I feel like that's the case with a lot of stuff. I've made this joke a lot of the times with like logical armor and various other things, is having a conclusion already, you know, confirmed about a thing, and then coming up with quote unquote evidence to support that thing. And I feel like that's basically what biological determinism is. You know, oh, women are inferior and they can't, you know, really work in computers. Let's find a reason why that is and then use that. You know, and it's just fucking stupid.
That does kind of remind me. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I tweeted out the other day. I said biological determinism in a nutshell. Premise 1, men have a penis, women have a vagina. Conclusion, men are better at computers and science, and women like feelings. You know, that's basically what it is, you know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that does make me think somewhat of the fact that people call themselves skeptics based on literally nothing except I have called myself a skeptic. And I feel like that's the way it works. If you say, I am a skeptic, then you are.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be skeptical. That doesn't have to be anything in your body of work which actually has anything to do with skepticism. You just have to keep saying, I am a skeptic. And that's how you be a skeptic.
Do you want to talk about the whole Mr. Milwaukee thing?
The what?
The conference that Sargon Shu and I'm a skeptic are talking at.
Oh yeah, that thing. Well, I mean, my position on that was, like, somebody on Twitter was like, Tim is not for deplatforming or whatever, or no platforming. And I was like, I'm just gonna not comment on that because I can't be bothered bursting their bubble and saying, actually, in certain circumstances, I am. Because I knew it would just be like fighting about deplatforming and what that means. But yes, and I'm actually not against deplatforming. I'm sorry to destroy all of everyone's love for me, or whatever. But I think I have no issues with people no platforming Sargon in this instance. But I did think Skeptic and Shu, like, I disagree with them a bunch, and like I've thought that some of Skeptic's videos were like pretty freaking inaccurate, and especially his postmodernism video, which made no sense and had really nothing to do with the topic. But that doesn't mean that I think he's like toxic or anything and shouldn't speak at some, like, I take issue with his skepticism. It doesn't mean I think he's a horrible, shitty person, but I think Sargon is. I just, it's just my opinion. So I don't really give a fuck if a toxic person doesn't speak at a so-called like skeptic conference. Like, why? You could get the fucking janitor to go speak instead, or like they've probably got much more interesting thoughts about skepticism than Sargon. So for Shu and I'm a skeptic, like I wouldn't bother. Like I don't know. You might think differently, but for Sargon, like fuck him. Who gives a shit?
No, I'm pretty much the same. I mean, full disclosure, I feel like, hey, look, you got a.
Oh my god, I got a super chat. Holy cow! What do I do?
P-Dog never gave me anything.
P-Dog, all right, I have to read his super chat. Here, Timmy, always fun bantering with you and your bud there, even if we almost always disagree. Still enjoyable. Sleepy time in the States. Thank you, sir, for the $5. I like you a lot. Give me.
You owe me $2.50.
More money.
$2.50.
Okay. All right, we'll split it. Anyways, that's my view on the whole ordeal.
Okay, so full disclosure about, like, I don't at all think that Armand. I mean, to be honest, I've had very little interaction. With Armand Skeptic, and with Shu more so. We've talked a little bit. I think we had some private messages to some degree. And I feel like on a personal level, I would get along with Shu and Armand Skeptic fine. I just feel like they are on that level of me, if I was to call out their problematic rhetorical behavior or whatever, they would automatically get defensive and be like, oh, blah, 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 which kind of annoys me, but it doesn't annoy me because I know that I would do that as well. And I've explained that in my video as well. I said that one of my friends called me out and I was getting all fucking huffy about it, right?
My issue with like Armand Skeptic is not that he is anti-social justice or just like goes on and on about feminism all the time and just buzz.
I was going to touch on that as well.
All right, yeah.
I was going to touch on that. Yeah, so, but I would not at all put Armand Skeptic and Shu on the same head as Sargon. I think Sargon's a piece of shit. I think he's not at all a skeptic. He's a terrible person. There's nothing redeemable about him at all.
And he uses tactics that Shu and Skeptic don't use. Like, I've never heard of them trying to dock someone. Exactly. I've never heard of them, making public rape jokes to like members of parliament and shit. Like, I've never heard of them doing that kind of thing.
All that sort of stuff,
Yeah. Types of people, yeah.
I find I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was. That there were a couple of things that really ticked me off that Shu said that led her to block me because I was retweeting her stuff, saying some stuff about transphobia. I assume it was to do with Riley Dennis. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there were some other things as well. Like there were some other things like her, not reading stuff. Basically Sargon of Akkad syndrome. There was a Chris Ray Gunn tweet that she retweeted that was just like, oh my god, race baiting, anti-white stuff. And I was like, oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?
Don't you think even there is even like quite a difference between Shu and Armand Skeptic, because Armand Skeptic has that whole like, I'm a skeptic mental. I am the person who understands the world. I know what's going on. And then Shu was just more like, hey, this is just my opinion. I'm just a person.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that as well.
My problem with Armand Skeptic is that he makes like very inaccurate videos and then says, I'm the authority on this thing, even though I clearly don't know anything about it. It's like, yeah.
Well, so that's the thing as well. I was going to get to the skeptic thing. Is it's kind of weird for me that speaking at a skeptic conference about skepticism in the social media age, it's like, well, you what? I mean, I get the. I mean, you guys have opinions about stuff, and you have a lot of followers, but
skepticism.
What? You know, skepticism? No, you don't. It's just not.
Well, I think like skepticism is not. It's not necessarily about the things that you're saying. It's the way that you go about it.
Yeah,
and I think
the process, right? The process.
I honestly don't think I'm a skeptic is a skeptic beyond just calling himself one. And I know, like, if he hears this, he will be like, Tim is slagging me off, and Tim's being all negative and shit. But I mean,
so,
I can't just say, I can't pretend that I don't think that when I see his videos. Like, what am I supposed to do? Just like pretend like I think that his video about postmodernism was just all fine and dandy? No, I mean, it was like incredibly inaccurate. Like, he didn't even define what postmodernism was properly. And if you watch Dr. Lehman's video and a few other videos about it, like, Dr. Lehman is an anti-SJW guy, and I think we disagree a lot, and he probably hates Antifa and stuff, but his video was fucking solid. And he had a lot of sources, and he explained it. And I was like, no matter how I disagree with Dr. Lehman, he has very clearly laid out what postmodernism is, and it's just completely different, you know.
And then you've got like,
oh shit! Just quickly, you sound so butthurt. Let them speak to their fans. It's not about their fans. It's about a fucking skeptic conference. You idiot! Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you.
You two sound so butthurt. Let them speak. It's not about the fans. It's
I completely missed the fucking point. All right. Anyways, go on.
The so like what was I gonna say about like so both Kevin and H Bomber Guide both did very good responses to Armored Skeptic's stuff about Bill Nye against the world.
Oh, sorry, I think you meant Armored Skeptic again, because H Bomber talked about video, and I thought it like his tone was really good. His tone was like well, H Bomber's tone was basically like, look, I'm not trying to get you over anything. I'm not trying to be a jerk about this. I just think, like, you know, that we can have like a conversation about this, and maybe it could be a learning experience. And my perception is that Armored Skeptic completely just ignored it. He was just like, don't care, just ignore.
I just feel like again, it's this idea of, oh my god, gender politics. It's the worst thing. You know, it's coming from a conclusion and then finding problems with that. You know, that seems to be what the thing is. You know, it's talking about gender identity and you know, gender being a spectrum and you know, all that sort of business. Oh, it's wrong. Now let me find some problems with it. It's the same as being like, you know, it's that mentality of religion is wrong. Here are the problems with it. Yes, okay, we agree that religion is wrong, but that's the wrong way to do science. That's not how you do something. You don't come up with a conclusion first and then, you know, find evidence for it. You follow the evidence where it leads. And in the case of gender science and gender identity and all that sort of business, biology, human identity, all that sort of stuff, that's not how you figure that stuff out, you know. And I feel like that's how skeptic kind of approach those sort of things, and that's not a skeptical way to go about things. And what I was going to say before is I feel like there are so many other people on YouTube who would fill such a role, you know, as a person to talk about skepticism in the social media age better. One of them, who was I going to say? I mean, I think that Logic is really good. Him and I disagree on a lot of stuff as well, but I feel like he's got, you know, a better way of approaching stuff in that sense. The guy, what's his name? The guy who does the videos, he debunks like viral videos and stuff like that. And he's called videos. What's his name? He's like Dr. Disillusioned or whatever it is. You know the guy I'm talking about?
Dr. Skeptor?
No, it's Disillusioned. Dr. Skeptor. No, Disillusioned.
Skeptor.
Skipped a lot. No, Disillusioned. Captain Disillusioned. Disillusioned. Yeah, he's fantastic. He does all these, like, because he's really good at visual effects and all that sort of stuff, and so he understands how visual effects with video and all that sort of stuff works. And so, you know, he debunks and yeah, there you go, Captain Disillusion.
Captain Disillusions.
You know, he understands how that stuff works, and he's able to debunk and come from that sort of stuff from a skeptical perspective.
Yeah, and they may have like ancillary views about, like, I don't like feminists and I'm an anti-SJW or whatever kind of
Yeah,
person.
but he
and who cares? Like,
have
it
no
doesn't
idea what
even
his
matter.
politics are.
Yeah,
But
it
he
doesn't
could.
even fucking matter.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of weird that, okay, Armored Skeptic has skeptic in his name, but
Yeah, and yeah, I mean that's just my main issue is more with him. It's more substantive, I guess. It's more just like to do with his actual way of approaching his content. Whereas I think with Sargon, it's a lot more just like he's just a piece of shit. That's about it. Like he's just a fucking piece of crap. It's like it's kind of different.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, so my huge issue with Sargon and the thing. So this is completely separate from Armored Skeptic and Shu. Is there okay? So first of all, they had that statement about how we're totally against bigotry and white supremacism and racism and sexism and all that sort of shit. We don't condone any
the
of that
Milwaukee
stuff.
people, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But here's Sargon, all of that stuff embodied, and then on their page they show his let me read it. It's ridiculous.
Also, Chris Christie just wrote an article about it, and a lot of people got kind of defensive about it because they were like, well, someone said to me, like, I thought you were against guilt by association. And I was like, but the point wasn't just that he was endorsed by EDL and Richard Spencer, which to me, it doesn't make him guilty. It just makes me think, like, wouldn't you take a look at what you've been doing with people like you? But the rest of it was just stuff that he himself had literally done himself. So that's not guilt by association. That's just his actions.
Yes. Well, I mean, I've made several videos about this, about how, some of the bullshit that he's done and said about why it goes directly against many of the things that Mythicist Milwaukee.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, Sargon is friends with this guy, Bob. Bob did something bad. Like, it wasn't like that. That's what Crown T's videos was. It was like, he's been endorsed by Richard Spencer and the EDL, and that should give you pause, because it's kind of weird.
So, the thing here is, so Sargon's little spiel here, it says, Carl Sargon of Akkad Benjamin is a popular independent vlogger with nearly 600,000 subscribers on YouTube. A skeptic of ideologies, both theological and political, his channel is dedicated to rational arguments backed by evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, just
I should just say, like, a guy who occasionally tries not to look right-wing, who blames SJWs for everything. Sargon.
Yeah, it's the fucking
and
system.
Does some really fucking shitty stuff and has been banned from Twitter multiple times. And he's struggling with his Facebook too. Well? Yeah, God.
Yeah, I just saw that.
He's having no luck right now.
No, he's having. I tweeted that out. I was just like, Sargon's being censored by the liberal SJW social media websites.
Yeah, he also compared that to like Nazi Germany and said this is how it started with the Jews. Which is so stupid. Like, first they ban you on Twitter, then they gas chamber you.
But see, that's what he did with the gas the jokes bullshit. There was the same thing. It was like, first the Nazis found Jews problematic, just like the SJWs find jokes problematic. It's the same thing. No, it's not. You fucking idiot. First of all.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were talking about that before. Like when people said, like, "Oh, Tim, you saw this thing through a racial lens," just like the alt-right. The alt-right sees things through racist lenses. You are the same, and I'm like, that is so fucking simplistic. Like, I mean, have you thought about the implications of what I was saying versus what they were saying, which are completely different and just have absolutely nothing to do with each other?
Exactly.
Like,
this is ridiculous. I mean,
the alt-right always blames the Jews. You always blame the white supremacists, and I'm conflating Jews and white supremacists. This is a great analogy. I'm smart.
But see, the thing about Sargon and a lot of those other high-profile YouTubers, which is hard, it's hard for me to distance from them, is they all get a lot of money to do this stuff as well. And I'm not saying they necessarily do it all for the money, but that's got to be a factor. I mean, Sargon gets nearly $6,000 a month to do what he does. So it's like, okay, well, George Soros, okay, whatever. But I mean, you look at Jordan Peterson. He gets $50,000 a month.
Yeah, that's true.
To do what he does. I mean,
and like Jordan
are you
Peterson, he's basically just like a, you know, he's not a pseudo intellectual. He is an intellectual, but he's just like an intellectual who is kind of like psychologically off the rails, and is also like this sort of creationist fucking religious dude who really shouldn't have much of a place in skeptical circles.
That's the weird thing. No, it's 62. Okay, I'm just looking at Jordan Peterson's Patreon right now. It's $62,451 a month. That's how much he gets to be a transphobic piece of shit.
Because I think that's the thing. Like, you can pseudo intellectualism is generally bad because it's related to like being pretentious when you don't have the capability of backing it up. So you have this self-image which is completely distorted. But intellectualism, too, can be an issue when you have a legitimate intellectual like Jordan Peterson, who is also insane. You know? So
it's like there was a book. I remember when I was a religious person. What the hell was that book called?
Well, this person is saying he's a pseudo-intellectual, but he's actually not, because he's a professor and he's studied a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's a guy. What the hell was the name of the book? It was called like the
He's just he's just a real shit intellectual, honestly. All right.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to name any names because I can't remember the names or anything. But when I was going to church and all that sort of business, you know, to like fundamentalist Christian church and stuff, trying to understand God and all that sort of business, there was a book that they all talked about, and it was by a guy who worked on the Human Genome Project. So this is a guy who's a scientist. He's a very smart scientist. You know, he knows a lot of shit. He's not an idiot, but he still is a fundamentalist Christian. You know, and so he's written a book about how his faith in God was strengthened by his, you know, understanding of the human genome, like this really complex, ridiculous biological stuff. So just because you are some awesome biologist, crazy scientist guy, doesn't mean that you can't be a fucking idiot and believe stupid bullshit, as we've seen by the fucking Google guy. You know, I mean, that guy's obviously a smart dude. Doesn't mean he's not a sexist piece of shit.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think like Dawkins and Hitchens have debated various people like that. And I think the issue with people like that is that they think that their creationism or their belief in God is somehow complementary to their science. Yeah. Whereas I think that they're just completely separate things. And like the fact that you believe in God is basically, you know, that is in detriment to your science, and you just happen to be able to also do science at the same time as believing stupid shit. That's about it, you know.
Yeah. They're not really like. Well, again, it's like the thing of starting with a certain perspective and then finding things to back that up. I feel like that's what it is. You know, I feel like it is. You've started with this perspective. I believe in God, and you find all these things to back it. There was this one thing that I remember.
It must be related to the scientific work I'm doing. For some bizarre reason, even though it's not, it's just like I also think about shit.
I remember seeing this video about a thing, and they called it, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a fundamental building block of the human form or whatever, and it was a molecule. And when you zoomed into it, you know, and it had all that like religious crazy music in the back, you know, the inspiring religious music in the background. And so they're doing all this, and they're talking about how, you know, and doing all this research and stuff. And I had some thought, you know, I wasn't sure about God and all this sort of stuff. And then I did this research, and I found this thing, and it was just called this. It was a molecule, and it bound all life together. It's the thing. It was so integral to life and stuff. And when you zoomed in, you looked at it, and this is what it looks like. And they put up this picture, and it was a picture of like a molecule, but it looked like a cross, you know, like a Jesus cross. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, that
is like the definition of confirmation bias."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but that's what it is. You know, it's having an opinion or a belief about a thing, and then finding evidence to support that. You know, and that's. Yeah, I feel like that happens.
Just like Jesus in the toast. And that kind of thing.
Jesus in the toast.
Jesus is in toast. Yep. That means that toast is holy for some reason. Jesus must have really loved toast. I don't know.
Someone just said Peterson, but he's a religious to some degree. It's just like Milo Yiannopoulos is a Catholic, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean like he literally had a video where he started crying because he hates atheism so much it made him cry. And he was just like, he was drawn to tears out of his beautiful words about pure hate for the fact people don't believe in God. And I was like, this is peak
This is
theist. This is beyond what I've seen from a lot of people, that you drive yourself to tears out of hate for atheism. And that's incredible.
I tweeted another thing out today. I tweeted another thing out today because I was looking. One of my social justice friends on Twitter had retweeted a thing by a guy, and it was this big screed about how SJWism and the alt-right are two sides of the same coin kind of thing. And their hypothesis was the fact, it was this whole, it's the same, it's two different sides kind of thing. And the person on there, all the same sort of bullshit that normal anti-SJWs say, that the identity politics, all that sort of bullshit. And then you go,
hey, babu.
Yeah. Hey, all the same bullshit. And then you go to their profile and they're like, yeah, I'm a religious man. I believe in Jesus. Jesus loves me. God is the best. I'm a family man. I love America. All this sort of stuff. And it's like,
America.
The fact, yes, it's guilt by association, but also it's kind of telling that the same shit that some motherfucker who's just, it's interesting that you have, how many ever years ago all these rational people were against religion, and now they're basically agreeing with religious people. It's
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go, dude. 12:15, and
yeah, and I was like, and we're kind of running out of topics. What else have we got to talk about?
But this was a good chat. Good chat. We didn't stumble too much. I liked it.
Quickly, I'll just check your channel. What do we got here? We got cyberbullying. We got ignorant, lying, snowflake Nazis. We got
that was a good one.
Mythicist to Milwaukee and disingenuous virtue signaling. Are you using virtue signaling non-ironically here?
Ironically. Who knows? Who knows? Better go check out the video. Ooh.
Stop using it as an insult. I just want to point out, I did that like over a year ago, so stop copying me. Google isn't Google isn't infringing on free speech. Sargon doesn't understand censorship, and Mythicist Milwaukee promo video.
I made a promo video for Mythicist Milwaukee because they were lacking one, so I made a promo video for them.
And apparently that video was a cringe fest, Michael. According to this person in the chat, that was a cringe fest. Stop making the entire internet cringe at you.
Why are you watching this video if it's a cringe fest? If you're cringing so much, why are you watching it?
Because he came here to partake in the marketplace of ideas.
Yes, the marketplace of ideas.
We've proven ourselves to be the alphas, I think. So
I think so.
Suck it. Okay, wait, no, there was one last thing I wanted to say. So, do you know Vernaculus or whatever?
Yep.
I got my issues with that guy, but he did have a tweet today that I actually thought was somewhat profound and was like a good tweet, where he just said, like, he said, if you spend your life focusing on just one thing or one problem or like one conflict, it will like limit your horizons or something. And I was like, you know what? That's true. Like, that created in me a sense of like self-reflection. Like, I want to expand my videos into more topics as opposed to just the back and forth shit. And it's always hard to get sucked into things, So
it is, yeah.
I was like, I mean, it came from Vernaculus. I disagree with him sometimes, but it's a good tweet. Like, it's a good point. Yeah, it can limit your horizons.
It's kind of difficult though. And if you're talking about YouTube as a thing though, it's difficult to expand your horizons on YouTube because of the way the algorithms work and all that sort of stuff. Unless you focus on a niche audience, you're not going to really get anywhere. I mean,
you lost
the way that the YouTube the way that the YouTube algorithm, the way that with your tags and your video topics and the people that like your stuff in general and your subscribers and all that stuff, how all that works together. you know, it's very complex. I don't understand completely how it works, but I know that if, you know, for example, with me, I do a lot of social justice stuff, and on those videos I get a lot of views, but on videos about music I don't get nearly as many views, just because of the way that YouTube targets.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Stuff, you know?
Yeah, right. So like channels that are specialty dedicated to music can build a following about music, but they have to do that all the time. Like that has to be their thing, basically.
Yeah, you've got to focus. You know, that's the thing. You kind of got to focus on a thing. And I mean, if you had, I suppose, once you get past a threshold, there's got to be a threshold. Like if you had, if tomorrow Sargon of Akkad decided to be like, oh, you know, I'm actually a really good musician, we're going to start playing music and stuff, I'm sure his audience would be okay with that, or most of them, and he'd be able to kind of kick off from that, you know. But in my stage, I mean, I'm less than 3,000 subs, so I just really don't think it would happen, you know.
Yeah. Do what you want to do is
just live your life, man.
To this.
Just live your life. Hey everyone,
super
chat Tim right now. Just super chat everyone. Give Tim $1 right now.
Super chat away. Super chat
$1.
And I will give
super
it to
That's all we're
Michael. So you're just funding Michael's delusion of grandeur.
Super chat.
Oh my god! My cat just stepped on the keyboard, and this is what he did. And I'm gonna press enter. Cat.
K.
He did. He stepped on the keyboard, and he just stepped on the K. Fucking racist. My
He's a racist cat. Everybody, you gotta super chat Tim. Super chat 10,000 years. Come on, everybody. Come on.
Give me the money, you stingy. All right.
There's no one. We're not going to stop the stream until Tim gets at least one super chat.
I think we've flogged this horse enough.
Poor horse.
Yeah.
Okay, I tried.
I'm going to kill the stream, but thank you, Michael, for the catch up, and I hope in the future you become less of a cuck.
I'll try my best. My cucking will decrease.
Yay. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, cucks.